Okay, you can go ahead, Catherine.
Okay, thank you, Tammy.
I'm just going to mute myself.
Okay, thanks. Then I will call the meeting to order. Hello, everyone. Cheryl's going to be joining us in a few minutes. We have approved the agenda, and our first item on the agenda today is the presentation concerning the draft official plan and urban design guidelines. And we have Jordan with us today. Jordan's going to be doing his presentation. So without further ado, I think I'll just hand it over to Jordan.
Great. Thank you very much, Catherine. Let me figure out how to share my screen.
He's done this for 8 months, remember, everybody.
Yeah, I'm used to Microsoft Teams now, and sorry, Tammy, I'm not seeing a. Do I need to be promoted?
Oh, maybe to a panel member?
Sorry, Tammy, you're muted.
Yes, you have to be promoted to host or co-host to share the screen. Unless it's down at the bottom on their share screen doesn't work.
I don't even have a share screen button.
Oh,
there we go.
Oh, there, yeah.
I'm doing a lot of Zoom with Third HBRE, so I'm getting used to it. So yeah, at the bottom there you are.
Oh, there we go. Oh, there, perfect.
Just popped up now. Thank you, Tammy. So, good evening, and thank you for inviting me for this presentation tonight. I'm looking forward to sharing with you kind of what we've been working on for the last couple of years and giving you a bit of an overview and a little bit of a history, and then we'll focus in on some of the policies and guidelines that you guys will be kind of concerned with. As Catherine mentioned, my name is Jordan Lambie. I'm a senior urban design planner in development services, and we'll just kind of jump into it. So try to keep it fairly brief to allow for some questions and answers at the end. But just wanted to kind of, again, go over the journey of the official plan in terms of the process that we've done to get where we are. I'll give you an overview of the official plan, an overview of kind of the urban design guidelines and what we're trying to achieve with both of those. Again, we'll just talk a little bit about our approach to accessibility in those two documents and flag a few kind of key policies and guidelines that you may want to consider. And then we'll talk about a path forward and next steps. And at the end, of course, I'll open it up to questions. So when we started in 2018, this process for the new official plan, we committed to the development of a transformative official plan, one that reflects kind of the city that we want Barrie to be. So this wasn't just an update to our existing plan. This is like a wholesale new document. We also committed to unparalleled engagement with internal and external stakeholders, a holistic approach that is reflected in clear policies and that provides certainty and direction. Again, to anybody kind of picking it up, we want them to know very clearly what our vision is for the community. We also committed to a 20-year growth goal that reflects what Barrie needs and wants. And that's a fairly complex planning process. It involves kind of the ministry, provincial bodies, city staff, consultants. It was a very extensive process. And then also we committed to establishing a high standard of urban design, which I think the committee is probably particularly interested in. And so we'll talk a little bit about kind of some of those documents. We released these two documents on September 24th for public engagement and review. And so really the question is, why isn't an official plan important, maybe? That may be a question that some of you ask, and it is the policy document that really governs the use of land within a municipality. So both kind of from a development perspective, and it lays out the city's intent for its public spaces as well. So again, these were just released and we're in the middle of a 90-day engagement period, which we're meeting again with internal stakeholders, such as our staff, committees such as yours, as well as external stakeholders such as school boards, housing providers, other community groups, as well as development groups. So the draft official plan was really, as you can imagine, there are a lot of competing interests, a lot of interrelated themes and issues that need to get addressed. And this image really illustrates our approach to writing the new official plan. Meaning the official plan is really centered on the notion that all matters related to city and community planning are interrelated, that they are codependent. And this image also shows that central to the new official plan, kind of in this orange, is that we really do want Barrie to be a more urban and complete city. This idea of planning for Barrie as an urban and complete city came through a lot of the community consultation that we did up front at the beginning of 2018, as did other key themes, which are kind of planning for an attractive city, which was a very commonly voiced opinion, a connected and mobile city. So that's kind of looking at not only just automotive and vehicular transportation, but obviously things from active transportation to public transit. How do we get around our city? Another key theme that we heard from was being a waterfront and green city, ensuring that there's access to open spaces, that our waterfront is protected and celebrated, things of that nature. A prosperous city, which really focuses on kind of the economy and how we can be a prosperous city and make the lives of our residents economically feasible and prosperous. Cultural city, again, really looking at kind of the social and cultural aspects of a city that really give it identity and meaning in some cases. And then finally, a resilient city. And this looks at a number of systems, both environmental, social, and economic, and making sure that we can, for any kind of shocks to the systems, that we are able to kind of absorb those and bounce back. So along with the official plan, sorry about that. Let me go back, skipped a few points. So each one of these themes has its own chapter in the official plan. And the policies in these chapters really outline how Barrie will be planned to be an attractive city, a prosperous city. Each chapter is also accompanied by a map or a schedule that's separately held files, which help to illustrate how and where these policies will apply. So there are three notable features about the official plan that I wanted to share. Number one, as I hope is kind of apparent, we've really tried to take a holistic approach to planning in Barrie. This is why we titled the official plan "One City, One Vision, One Plan." The motto really summarizes kind of the comprehensive and integrated approach and planning philosophy that we enshrined in every policy in the new plan. And this means we focus on planning in Barrie for the type of city that we want. Number two would be that the OP focuses on breaking down the segregation of uses, allowing a mix of uses for almost anywhere in the city now. And number three, the official plan establishes a clear community structure, one that will lay the foundation of how and where Barrie will grow to 2041 and beyond. So this will provide clarity and certainty to residents, businesses, and the development community, and will allow Barrie to grow into a place that feels grown up, urbanized, yet livable and attractive. Which segues us to urban design. So in addition to the official plan, we have also released a comprehensive urban design guideline document. And this is the city's first ever citywide urban design guidelines. And so the official plan in these guidelines recognize that the city of Barrie is undergoing a pretty significant transformation. And we want to take advantage of this transformation to make sure that Barrie has high quality streetscapes, public spaces, and buildings that establish a modern and energetic and prosperous image of the city, that both the community and council wish to portray for Barrie. As I mentioned, these are the first ever citywide guidelines, and they are an implementation tool of the new official plan and are underpinned by a series of design principles that are enabled by the official plan. And so what you see on screen are those principles. And it starts with design excellence. And this is a term that you may have heard kind of bandied about. It has different meanings depending on where you hear it. Often it may have kind of, a lot of people view design excellence more from an aesthetic perspective, whereas through the OP, the city has really defined it as a few priorities. And so those are prioritizing people, strengthening public life, elevating standards of sustainability and resilience, and celebrating local culture and place. So that's how we're starting to define design excellence, to ensure it's not just the aesthetic, but it's really how design can enhance the livability of a city. Human scale, which is probably, again, a term you may have heard, but it really focuses on designing for people at a scale, understanding that a city can be experienced only by a person walking through it, and focusing on the elements that a person can experience. So through this, we're really hoping to design compact and complete and connected neighborhoods that are walkable. We want a built form that responds to a human scale, and we want a vibrant public realm. So the third one, sustainable, resilient, and adaptive. This means designing a city that can withstand climate volatility and bounce back quickly after any catastrophic event, excuse me. It also means designing a city where everyone can find a place to live in dignity, and where buildings can be repurposed over time to adapt to socioeconomic changes. Kind of second to last, we have diversity, equity, and inclusivity. And this is probably obviously an interest to this committee. This is really about designing the city for everyone. Through either community-led design processes and engagement, engaging with the public, or updating urban design guidelines in the future. It can also have applicability to kind of the diversity of densities, uses, open spaces, and affordability in this in the city. And most obviously, I think it's around accessibility and universal design. And then lastly, is contextual design priority, really understanding and ensuring compatibility between developments and neighborhoods as we start to transition into more urban forms. This becomes increasingly important and concern for community members. So ensuring that we have some clarity in how that happens. So next up, we'll just chat a little bit about the community structure that's laid out in the official plan. Community structure is really the city's blueprint for growth to 2041 and beyond. And it identifies critical elements that Barrie needs to be an urban and complete city. So these areas are really kind of the areas in color on the map, and I apologize, it's a little small. But this really does incorporate in bright yellow in the center, kind of the urban growth center. The areas in blue here are major transit station areas. Orange areas are what we're calling strategic growth areas. So we're expecting kind of the highest levels of intensification and growth, and where we expect the greatest mix of uses. And really, these are the areas that are anticipated to accommodate the most amount of change overall. So the community structure really attempts to strike a balance between facilitating growth and focusing intensification in these specific areas, so that we can kind of protect established neighborhoods while still allowing some gentle intensification to occur.
Sorry,
So
Jordan.
the areas in white are really these established neighborhoods.
Sorry, Jordan.
Yes.
Can you just clarify what the purple was for? I missed that.
Yeah, no worries. These are employment areas. And so I was about to hop into that kind of the last section. But these are really designated employment lands. So the city has to balance through this community structure plan. We need to identify a certain amount of land for growth in employment uses and for residential and community growth. And so this is how the city is proposing to achieve that growth.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt. So,
Nope.
Jordan, employment, maybe what you might need to do is just expand on what you mean in planning
Sure.
speak by employment
Yeah,
lands.
and so, sorry, that's
okay.
I've got my planner hat on, and yeah, for sure, we can break that down.
As a segue, I'm so sorry I came late to the meeting, everybody. I'm so happy that Jordan's here. Jordan, since probably the first week that Jordan's been here, I've been talking to him about accessibility. So like I took him out for coffee, I think, the first week,
right.
and basically like hammered him on universal design. So
if there's any problem,
he's prepared. He's prepared.
If we didn't achieve all of your goals, it's really on me. See. So yeah, employment lands are really, these are really kind of industrial uses typically. So there are a category of uses that can be included as employment. Some retail can be included in that, but it's really, it has to be geared to servicing hard industrial employment. That's really what it is. So those purple areas, and you'll know it just from living in the city, like these areas kind of along and between kind of our Bradford and the 400 are largely manufacturing centers and things like that. So that's really what we're looking at there. And typically we want to focus these around the 400 with easy access to kind of moving goods and really considering the economy for the city. And so that's where they're located typically. So just flip through and just, that was a great segue, Cheryl. Moving into kind of our approach to accessibility, which Cheryl has been kindly helping me to shape some of the policies that we want to consider and our general approach to accessibility in the official plan. So like I say, it is the guiding document for how municipalities approach use of land within their boundaries. So it is a pretty high level policy tool. So what we've done is we've broken it down into, approached our document with two lenses really. So one, there is a baseline understanding of kind of some of the provincial policy requirements that we have to deal with. So AODA standards, accessibility for Ontarians, and then obviously the Ontario Building Code on more of the built form or building scale deals with also some key elements for accessibility. And so what we wanted to do was really highlight and enshrine some of those provincial policies or make them abundantly clear that we would be pursuing those in various forms throughout. We'll touch on a few of those in the next couple slides, but really to improve kind of safety and accessibility in our public spaces, so streets, open spaces.
And that's a big deal, you guys. Like the previous official plans haven't done that, right? And that's not even just for Barrie. That's just like it hasn't been common for generally for municipal municipal official plans, and all municipalities are required to have an official plan, but it's not typical to talk about this. So this is really awesome that Jordan's done this.
Yeah, and Cheryl. But for sure. And so those are provincial policies that Cheryl helps us when development applications come in. She'll help us ensure that we're kind of, that we as the corporation in the city of Barrie and the developer are meeting their obligations and responsibilities in terms of meeting those policies. But in terms of like communicating that to the public and anybody who picks up our official plan, we want to make it very clear that it is a priority for the city. So that helps us with that. The second lens is really around kind of urban design, and the new official plan has more of a focus on how we shape our cities, or how we shape our city specifically. And through this lens, we wanted to tackle some universal design aspects. So we know that accessibility for Ontarians and building code kind of set some base regulations that we need to meet. And then we wanted universal design to be our goals and objectives, to set something a little bit, set our eyes a little bit higher. And so through that, in the official plan, we do identify universal design principles in our official plan. And we're emphasizing that on publicly owned spaces and facilities, though, where the city of Barrie can kind of roll those principles out into their products, so to speak. Subsequently, we also have policies and standards for those spaces. So again, looking at parks, active transportation facilities, transit facilities, municipal buildings. Those are kind of the areas of focus where we have policies to help kind of give us a little push to more comprehensively to tackle universal design in some of our development projects. And then lastly, more in the private sector, we do have policies that encourage universal design in those projects, but we can't necessarily require it because it's not a provincial policy or things like that. So we will be looking to encourage that through our urban design guidelines, for example, having high-level policies that say we're encouraging these things. It's harder to enforce, but the more that we can have those conversations, the further we can kind of go.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I'd just quickly go through some of the policy highlights. So as Cheryl mentioned, it is kind of I don't want to say a big deal, but it is important to have accessibility as a clear priority for the city. And we've tried to relay that even in our community vision statement, which you can see really try to focus on highlighting that accessibility is a key priority for the city. It is within the community vision statement. I won't read the actual vision statement. It's a little bit lengthy. I think it's a couple paragraphs, but it is in there. We also have, if I go back to that kind of diagram with all of the attractive city, prosperous city, resilient, urban and complete, all of those themes are chapters in our official plan. And each of those chapters has goals and objectives that also relate to accessibility. So we've really embedded accessibility and universal design into all of these different themes. So, as we're engaging some of our other committees, it's easy to pull out one section and say, this is what you need to review and comment on. With accessibility, we've taken a little bit of a different approach and tried to really embed it. So some of those policies I'll just kind of reflect. I pulled out a few. I don't think this is a comprehensive or exhaustive list, but we did in kind of a few of these sections. So the first one here, 2.51, this is in some of our land use policies. We've really taken an approach where we're looking at how we can encourage kind of innovative housing or unit types within developments. So Cheryl's had a few conversations with me about other municipalities that have looked at this in terms of even in some plans of subdivision, having sales centers built out as accessible units and then having them on the market ready to go, so to speak, or as an option for future build. So we've started to look at that, tried to build some flexible policies around that. Again, the second one here is human scale design. And to kind of bring the accessibility lens to that, again, human scale design is really about how a person is experiencing the city. And so you'll often see municipalities try to focus on creating active uses at street level on new developments. And so we're the same. We want to push for that to create active and lively streetscapes in our city. We also want them to be accessible. So we have policies kind of requiring all accesses to buildings be obviously barrier-free and accessible to all. A couple others, this extremely lengthy one, 3.3.5.2.1i is really guiding kind of policy for some of our public spaces. And this is where we actually lay out some of those universal design principles kind of around size and space for approach, kind of legibility of signage, things like that. You can kind of go through as you're reviewing and see those universal design standards built into the official plan, which I think is really exciting. And it gives, it's not just an objective either. It also gives the city something like a metric or a benchmark that we can then go and review any developments for new public spaces. We can say, have we achieved this policy? So it gives us something tangible that we can really look to when we're designing and developing our new public spaces. A couple of sections around, section 4 is really around mobility. So you'll see a number of policies in section 4 that have a lot to do with accessibility. And so this is around things like sidewalk and intersection designs, making sure that they're accessible and kind of universally accessible, that would build in key considerations around audio, tactile, and visual considerations for all. As well as public transit policies, so ensuring that our shelters are accessible, that we're kind of making these considerations at a very high level. And then we also, the ever inevitable kind of parking policies. Obviously the Accessibility for Ontarians Act does require a certain ratio of accessible parking spaces. We wanted to build on that in terms of some of the circulation spaces within parking lots and design, and make sure that there's it's being accommodated in the circulation systems in those. And then section 5 is again kind of around accessible parks and universal design. And this one's more of a little bit of a rather kind of encouraging that through specific design parameters. And then section 6 is around, again, public buildings and facilities, and ensuring that we build those build standards in for access at grade. Again, if the ramps aren't needed, we're trying to Barrie has a lot of grade challenges throughout a number of sites. So where we can, we want to avoid ramps and have direct access to grade, much like the image you see at the bottom of the screen here, where you can kind of just quickly and easily access buildings. Where that's not possible, you know, there are provisions for ramps and other strategies. So urban design highlights, some quick ones. Again, I just tried to chunk these out into some of the themes. Around mobility, we do have sidewalks, intersection, parks, and open space. And so both our OP and urban design guidelines provide some guidance, again, around the size and space of like a minimum sidewalk width. You know, in some cases, we tried to make that minimum based around 2 wheelchairs crossing each other, for example. We also have guidance on materiality to make sure you know, there's no uneven surfaces or things that may be a barrier to people. Again, at intersections, we're considering kind of multi-sensory cues at crossings, so tactile strips, visual and audio signals, and then universally accessible furnishings and amenities. So, kind of in open spaces, we would consider this around kind of playgrounds and some of those types of furnishings. And then through public transit and active transportation, so really looking kind of at facilities and infrastructure, less so on kind of the buses themselves. That's more of transit's responsibility. But we are trying to merge those two as integrated experience. So we're really looking around kind of transit stops and how we can improve those conditions. So again, the size and space of those shelters or stops, making sure that there's enough adequate space to get into the shelters, or that there's enough space to kind of wait and access the bus. We're also looking at, again, from furnishings perspective, the shelters really, but also we have policies in there around legibility of markings, signage, and wayfinding, and I think this one's really important to make sure that people have a clear understanding of how to use these systems and how to get around the city. And then at the building or built form, again, the focus is really mostly around entrances and accesses into buildings. There is some separation in terms of levels of detail with regards to municipal buildings and private buildings, but the same goals. And then updating heritage buildings with barrier-free and universal design. Barrie has some significant cultural heritage, and as some of these buildings are being kind of adapted into new uses or new purposes, often they have to be brought up to AODA standards. And so we want to make sure that there's some guidance for that in terms of how to marry accessibility and heritage. Oh, excuse me, so sorry, Holly. Nope. And from there, we go into parking again, and we already chatted a little bit about that, but really focusing on creating clear requirements for parking spaces and the circulation spaces within those parking areas. So kind of the path forward, I thought we'd talk a little bit about. At the kind of conclusion of the 90-day review period, which we're currently about halfway through, concludes December 22nd in next month. We'll review all the comments that we receive and make any necessary edits to the document. We are happily receiving kind of feedback now. We've received a lot of engagement to date, and we're looking forward to another month of good engagement. Following this, we will have, once we integrate some of that feedback into a new draft, we'll bring that draft forward to a public open house, which is a statutory milestone. We're aiming to do that in spring of 2021. And we'll kind of present some of the revisions that we made and highlight some of the changes or key changes from the version that we're viewing now. And then we'll have a public meeting. And so this is, sorry, this is kind of confusing language. So the public open house will be really an engagement opportunity. The public meeting is a statutory milestone again, but it'll be held in kind of council chambers with them to get their feedback. And then we're hoping to get an adoption of the new official plan, currently targeting fall 2021. And so once adopted, staff will prepare an adoption package for the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, as they're the ultimate kind of approval authority. And that package will include all work completed as part of our municipal comprehensive review, which supports the new OP. And then the ministry will have a review period of 120 days after that. And so we're hoping to, while that's going on, really start work on our preliminary zoning bylaw, which isn't obviously the implementation tool for the new official plan. So we're hoping to start that kind of late 2020, and we'll start working into that into 2022, so 2021, so that when the new official plan is finally formally approved, we have a zoning bylaw in place and ready to go that actually can implement it. With that, we'll go to the next slide, kind of connecting the dots. So if we want to do any further engagement, we have a website dedicated to the official plan project, and which we're actually doing some engagement online with as well, which during COVID times is more important than ever. You can find that at buildingbarrie.ca. It's kind of there'll be a splash page of kind of projects, and you'll see in the top left very prominently kind of the official plan project, which you can kind of click through. And you'll see all of the documents as the draft released, as well as a few engagement kind of opportunities. So those can range from quick polls that we're doing just to get some quick feedback. We have opportunities to do formal kind of comment submissions, and there's a opportunity to do questions and answers directly with the planning department, answering any questions onto the website. There are a couple of videos that give overviews to frequently asked questions and the process. And then on World Town Planning Day, just earlier this month, we also did a bit of a photo contest where we invited the public to kind of share photos of their favorite places in the city and explain why, so that we can kind of look and learn from that. And then in terms of what this committee can do, I think as you guys are reviewing the documents, I think we would recommend that you assign a single committee member to review the official plan and urban design guidelines to draft comments, and that the comments should be accepted by the committee and submitted, which says to me, but to anybody in the planning department by December 22nd, 2020. At this point, we have to have comments submitted in writing. As I mentioned, that will form part of the package that goes to the ministry as part of their review and approval process. So with that, I will open it up to questions that you may have, and hopefully I can provide some answers.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. That was just terrific. Thank you. Questions, anyone?
I see Heather.
Yeah, I have a few questions, but I want to start by saying thank you so much. That was just amazing detail, and there's so many fewer questions that I have now than I expected to have at the beginning. So that's always a wonderful place for things to be at. I did have, I've got five question marks beside things. The first was, maybe doesn't seem quite as much about accessibility, but since so many folks on with disabilities also live on fixed incomes, I was curious, you mentioned affordability along with universal design, and I wondered how that was going to be integrated into the plan or encouraged.
Yeah, and as you know, affordability is a very live discussion, particularly for Barrie. There are some targets currently for the UGC in the official plan. And it's focused on the UGC at the moment. And I think it's a 35% target for affordable housing. I think there are going to be some ongoing conversations with council, with committees such as yourself around potentially some of the provisions that are in the official plan around affordable housing, and if they're enough. Affordable housing is it requires a bit of a multi-pronged approach to actually kind of tackle adequately.
Especially if you also need accessibility in that housing or support in that housing. Those
exactly. And so there is a range.
Particularly weekend.
Yeah, and so there is a range of those affordable housing types. And so there is kind of a question around what is the city's role and responsibility in this right now, in terms of what market piece of the scope and range of affordable housing types there are. As you know, on one end of the spectrum, you can get into some of those supportive or social supportive housing, affordable housing types that typically right now, we're seeing kind of Simcoe County is more or less fielding that part of the market, or private, or I shouldn't say private, but some of our affordable housing providers like Coral Group that are operating in our community now, they kind of focus in on a little bit of that versus, more some of the affordable housing to purchase type segments of the affordable housing range. And so there is that question around what is the city's role and responsibility. And I think that's an active conversation. and where universal design fits into that is certainly a good question. And I don't know if I have all of the answers for you right now. So, I mean, we would certainly appreciate any feedback that you might have in terms of the approach that we've taken in the official plan as you do your review, and any ways that we can kind of improve or better integrate affordable housing design with universal design.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And I guess
Sorry, I'm not sure that answered your question, but
no, I think what I'm realizing is just how much of it is in the documents that we need to review, that this is very much a high level overview. And
yeah, I mean, it's a big task to ask of committees and individuals in the community. I mean, these are very lengthy documents, and I mean, we tried to break down, again, using those themes from the feedback that we heard from the community early on. We tried to segment the official plan into digestible chunks so that, you know, if you're interested in specific issues, you can easily find those without necessarily having to review the whole thing. And so you will find some affordable housing policies in urban and complete section, and I believe in the resilient city section. I'm kind of going off memory on that one.
We'll have a read through that.
Yeah.
Heather?
I realize that the rest of my questions, I need to do the reading first, and then we will see. I am just amazed at the level of intricacy and depth that has gone into this, even just in the presentation. So thank you.
Yes, I agree. Thank you.
And this is a really fluid process. So like the comments that Jordan and others in the planning department receive from this committee and other committees, as well as from community stakeholders, will be considered, and they will integrate suggestions based on that feedback into yet another draft of this, and then it'll go back to the public in the spring, as Jordan was saying, for more feedback and more comment. So it sounds like a really lengthy, exhausting process, and maybe Jordan is exhausted and I need to buy him more coffee. But this is actually one of those cases where you as community members have a really tangible impact on how the city is developing and shaping, because you get to see all the research they've done and you get to comment on it and say, hey, I don't like that, or yes, that's awesome, do more of this, right? So just kind of like, you know, I think this committee and other advisory committees of council, Jordan, they're probably going to be really motivated to give you feedback, because this is a great opportunity.
The level of interest and engagement, I guess, you know, people, this is stuff that people really care about. I mean, it's community shaping, it's community building.
Absolutely, yeah.
Making sure that
so
the city,
cool.
making sure that the city can work for everyone is obviously kind of the mandate of this committee, but I think everybody, certainly from staff perspective, feels the same way and really wants to make this document a proper stepping stone to implementing that vision.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I think that the reflection and the thought that went into preparing the presentation itself really motivates us to read further, because there's so much information there that is forward thinking that we want to see more. And I think, you know, we'll be able to comment on it. I see Louise has a question.
Because, and I think maybe this is directed more to Cheryl. In some instances, I mean, this is staff's first kind of kick at the can, as Cheryl was indicating. And really doing, like, through research of best practices in other municipalities, through just looking what's worked elsewhere and trying to bring it to Barrie and understanding, what might work for Barrie. We've tried to take that first kick at the can. So now special interest groups such as yourself with like technical and experienced understanding of these issues, we're looking for feedback to really help us focus in and make sure that these are workable for our city.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this committee will be shy about telling you. They're not shy. They will tell you what they think works and what they think doesn't work. And there's a lot of experience on this committee from a community building perspective, but also from like an actual physical building a building perspective. So like, I think you'll have some really good feedback from this group.
No, that's great. And so
I
I would
think-
just,
I think Louise has a question.
I'm really glad. I was just going to say that the committee has been in discussion before about the universal, or somehow the municipality supporting the universal design principles for the private sector. So I was excited to see that, and to make some I think the committee could make some recommendations around that too. But that caught my eye.
Yes, right away.
great. And,
Sorry, so Jordan, you were going to say something, and then I cut you off.
No worries. Just back to kind of that recommendation, though. I mean, I obviously encourage you all to review and take your time with the documents as you can, but would recommend, identifying that kind of one point person to kind of facilitate that discussion with myself or Kathy or Tom from planning, really.
So Catherine is the chair of this committee. So I won't, my comments are always staff comments. So the committee, Tammy and I are just supporting the committee. So the committee members will provide all of their great, fantastic ideas to Catherine, and Catherine will be that speaker who will, she'll be that voice that will liaise directly with you and Tom and Kathy. For sure.
So now, folks, if I need to report back in writing by December 22nd, what's a good time for everybody to respond with initial comments to me?
We just need to, first of all, we need to work out. So Jordan, do you need do you need a motion from this committee, or do you just need comments?
I think we just need comments.
Okay, so if they need, because so this committee can facilitate that outside of a meeting via email back and forth amongst each other. But if you needed a motion, we would have to work with Tammy to coordinate a separate meeting sometime in December. And Tammy's going to talk, and she's probably going to tell me that I'm wrong.
Hi there. It'd be probably best if you're coordinating comments. If somebody wants to report back to the next committee, then we can give a fulsome, so if there's any changes to the comments or any of that, if anybody doesn't agree. So we can have just have a quick meeting in December if necessary. Just have one item on the agenda.
Yeah, we can do that.
Perfect.
And then we'll take all those comments and report back.
Yeah, so we can meet maybe at the same time next month, right?
Yeah.
The normal meeting time. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah, just to facilitate that, could I ask that we do have some of that email exchange back and forth as well between now and then, just so that we're all on the same page and we don't need to take quite as long with the process?
Yeah.
I love how you think. That's awesome.
Great. So I'll coordinate something for December then, just so you can get all your comments together. Okay.
Yeah. In the meantime, everybody review, and if you want to just share among.
Oh, Catherine froze.
Oh, frozen.
She froze.
While she's frozen, Tammy, could you send out the link to the document so that we all have it and it's easy to access?
Yep.
Yes, I can do that. And I will send out Jordan's presentation as well.
Thank you.
Perfect,
Thank you
yeah.
so much, Jordan. That was amazing.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no
Jordan.
problem.
Excellent. Thank you, Jordan.
No, my pleasure, and I'm looking forward to receiving the feedback and working with you guys to improve the next draft.
Yep.
Now,
Thank you so much.
Go take your dog for a walk, because I
Yeah,
think
no, he was yelling at me.
He was.
Sorry about that.
No, that was awesome.
It happens.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, all.
Okay. Thanks, Jordan. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Wow, that was a fulsome presentation. Just terrific. I suppose we're ready to move on to item 2.1, which is the International Day of Persons with Disabilities.
Yes. So the mayor's office sent a proclamation to me today, and I will read it to you. Just got to pull it up. My apologies. It's awesome. So I, Jeff Lehman, Mayor of the City of Barrie, do hereby proclaim December 3rd, 2020 as International Day of Persons with Disabilities. Whereas the annual observance of the International Day of Persons with Disabilities was proclaimed in 1992 by the United Nations General Assembly, and we recognize the strides persons with disabilities have made in every aspect of political, social, economic, and cultural life, and work to raise awareness of the struggles yet to be overcome. The annual observance of the day is an opportunity for the City of Barrie to make a renewed commitment to the principles of dignity and justice for all in support of the implementation of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And the City of Barrie Council adopts each year the city's accessibility plan under the Ontarians with Disabilities Act and the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. And whereas the city's Accessibility Advisory Committee advises on the development of this plan, which works to support the UN's 2020 theme for International Day of Persons with Disabilities, which is "Not all disabilities are visible," which focuses on spreading awareness and understanding of disabilities that are not immediately apparent, such as mental illness, chronic pain or fatigue, sight or hearing impairments, diabetes, brain injuries, neurological disorders, learning differences, and cognitive dysfunctions, among others. Therefore, I, Jeff Lehman, Mayor of the City of Barrie, do hereby proclaim December 3rd, 2020 as the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. Isn't that awesome? I love it.
Wow. That's
So,
really nice.
Our HR administrative assistant, she sent me this message. She said, "Cheryl, there's like an official package from the mayor's office that's sealed for you."
Wow.
And I'm like, what's that? Because they do a really pretty version of it, hard copy, but this is like, we're virtual, baby. So I'm like, I like put it in my mail slot and I'll get it like next week when I'm in the office. Cause I like to go in at least once a week. Right. But because we can't all be rubbing up against each other in the same room at the same time. Like we gotta, and I have a shared office. I have to like book my days and stuff. So she they did send me an electronic copy, so that's nice. And then that copy will go on the website, and it will be included with like the agenda for the December council meeting when they read that. But I'm really excited about the 2020 theme. Like I like that. Yeah.
That's, oh, wow.
Catherine,
Goosebumps.
Catherine, I have a question, if I may. It's Carolyn.
Oh yeah, sorry. I have to keep flipping back and forth because I don't get everybody on my screen. Okay, Carolyn, thank you.
It is a comment to Cheryl, and that is a wonderful proclamation. Could you put it in your calendar for 2021 to also have a flag raising? Event. It won't happen this year with COVID, but for 2021, if they could join it with a proclamation with the flag raising.
Well, we have done that in the past, Carolyn, absolutely. Just in these COVID times, it didn't even hit my radar. So thank you so much. Absolutely. We will look at that again. As I said, we have done that in the past. Yeah.
Mhm. Wow.
Great suggestion. And you have one more comment, Carolyn?
Nope, not me.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Does someone else have a comment? Oh, okay. All right. That is just, wow. That's terrific.
Good.
Thank you. Such good news. Wow. Okay, so moving forward then, we don't have a 2.2, I see. So we're going to go on to 2.3, which is the 2021 National Accessibility Week.
Yes. Okay. So it's early days.
Yes.
But I'm let's just start thinking about things now. So this is just a bug in your ear. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up, and I can't see the agenda. So tell me if I'm I might be combining bullet points here, agenda items. But last meeting, Councillor Thompson brought up the idea of recognizing Tom Lowery as in an award, our accessibility award or something like that. And for Carolyn's reference, Tom Lowery was a member of this accessibility advisory committee and very passionate individual, lots of fantastic ideas. And he had a heart attack and died in February. And it's really it was really quite surprising to all of us, to his family. And so Councillor Thompson had made the suggestion, which I think is an awesome suggestion. I love that suggestion. But as I stated last meeting, we have had several committee members die. Last meeting, I think I said 4, but afterwards I was thinking about it, and I think there's actually been 5 committee members who have died in the 10 years that I have been working as accessibility for the city. And each individual was a very vibrant contributing member. Mm-hmm. And we've always kind of kept the position that we can't make an award for one, because then we would have to make an award for all of them. And then in addition to that, we've had other committee members who haven't passed away, but who have made substantial contributions to the city, both in their role as an accessibility member and then as just a community member, either through work or volunteering or what have you, whose families have come to us and said, hey, this person's retiring or this person's whatever, can the city acknowledge them by creating an award to them? And again, we have had it, that's really tough. And the reason why that's so tough, I'll explain, is because we have actually had an accessibility advisory committee since 2001. So I've been here since 2010, and we have had 5 committee members die since I've been working. There have probably been several more if we think about from 2001 to now. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of hard to do that. But in 2021, National Accessibility Week, prayed to all that is holy, that there is no COVID restriction, and we can do something big and in person, because it'll be 20 years that the city of Barrie has had an accessibility advisory committee. And that's so cool. And then, so what that does is that gives us an opportunity to recognize every single person that has been a member of this committee. Now, you guys don't have to worry about the recognition piece. Tammy and myself and others can pull together all the names of the people who have sat on the committee and get all that information, stories, backgrounds, whatever. But 2021 will give us an opportunity to actually, usually during National Accessibility Week, we sometimes we've done just a proclamation. Sometimes we've done like an open house in the rotunda. Sometimes we've done like a pancake breakfast outside City Hall. Sometimes in the past, we've had like forums where we had David Onley speak at one time. For National Accessibility Week, we've partnered with other groups. One year we partnered with the spinal cord injury, and we participated in a wacky wheelchair race, and we had a city council and other City of Barrie celebrities like racing in wheelchairs. That they've now, it doesn't really sync up. The dates don't sync up with their dates. So I don't think, we haven't been able to do that for many, many years. But there's a variety of different things that we have done in the past. So we can do something small, we can do something not so small. And regardless of what you guys decide you want to do for you and your term as Accessibility Advisory Committee members, this also gives us the opportunity to recognize everybody who has passed away or who hasn't passed away, but has just, everybody who's made a contribution to the city through this Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting. And that also means that we get to recognize you. So I'm probably going to be, COVID notwithstanding, stalking you a little bit and taking some pictures and getting some information so that we can highlight you in the exact same way. Yes.
Wow.
Louise.
Yes, well, I was on the first advisory committee, and sadly, I think there's just Dan McGill and myself left. But the other people that have been on the committee are the councillors. Like, for example, Pat Copeland was one of the first, maybe we could include the councillors too.
We absolutely will, because they are vital. Absolutely.
Yeah.
They are vital. And I can say, like, we've had some like amazing counselors on this committee, and all the counselors are amazing. I'm trying to be really politically correct here, but some counselors really go the extra mile. And I have to say, Councillor Thompson, like, I feel we're really lucky because he makes it, even he's like driving home from work and he still shows up to our meetings. Like, that is amazing. Yeah. So we haven't always had that dedication. So we're going to recognize Councillor Thompson too. And I can't see his face right now. So hopefully he's not, he's not sticking his tongue out at me or something like that. But yeah, because we do really appreciate our counselors. You're absolutely right, Louise.
Yeah, good point. Okay, so that does actually combine the Accessibility Week and the recognition.
Catherine. Efficiency. Yes. There you go. Maybe we'll be done before Heather has to leave.
Yes, Carolyn has a question.
Yes, well, it's an observation, Catherine, that I hadn't realized until I read our minutes, but the National Accessibility Week is actually National Access, and it's ABILITY.
Yes, so that occurred a couple years ago because Rick Hansen, he petitioned Ottawa to have that changed. Maybe about 5 years ago.
I thought it was excellent, and so maybe for the future. It's a typo, I'm sure, probably that was on our meeting agenda, but I thought that was really interesting to have it in Accessibility Week.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Here.
Okay.
So I won't expect you guys to give me your ideas for what to do now, because like I just presented this opportunity to you. So think about it. We can talk about it in December if you want, or not. We can wait until January or February. Like, we do have some time, but this I just wanted to kind of address that idea.
When is the week?
It's the last week of May.
May,
last
right.
week of May. Yeah. And so I didn't want to, I kind of wanted to circle back and just make sure you guys knew I wasn't like brushing off that idea of celebrating past people, because like I care deeply about everyone who's been on our committee. But it's just kind of like, how do we do that sensitively? You know, acknowledging everyone and not ruffling someone's feathers because we didn't do that, like their family loved one, you know? So so this is a way that we can do everybody.
I think that's a really good idea.
And we get to look at how far we've come. Like,
I
look
think
at how
it's so
far we've come
exciting.
since
Yes.
2001, right?
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, look, we have
Like,
Louise.
well, Louise is going to be like, she'll remember, because, okay, so 3 of the founding members of the City of Barrie Specialized Transit Services were on the committee. And like, so the specialized services, what used to be called BACS, and before that it was something else. It wasn't a City of Barrie program. It was a BDAPS program. It was ILS.
Yeah.
And so ILS, but what was I can't remember ILS's old name. What was ILS's old name?
Oh, let's see. Simcoe County Association for the Physically Disabled.
Yeah, it was a mouthful. Oh my God.
Wow.
SCAPD. That's right. SCAPD. So like
Wow.
so things, like some really cool things happened with like community members that had disabilities that were really like, hey, we need to do something so we can get to work in the morning and we can contribute. So Heather.
I think it would be amazing if there was a list of the accomplishments that the Accessibility Advisory Committee had achieved for that 20 years. You know, do you have any downtime? You're just bored and twiddling your thumbs between now and then, Cheryl? You know, I know you do that a lot. So I expect this will be, you know, a breeze, but.
Well, I don't just do this accessibility committee. Like, you guys do the committee.
You know, I'm joking.
Yeah, I know. Cause but like, yeah, so that there's a lot of support that I do, but the committee does, you guys do a lot, right? And then Tammy does a lot too.
Yes.
So Tammy she thought she was going to get out of this, but she's going to get recognized as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And well deserved.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
The clerk's office has been really instrumental in supporting this committee.
They were in the beginning too.
Yeah. Oh my God. Absolutely. In the beginning, they didn't have it. That's all they had. They just had the clerk's office. Yep.
What was her? Oh,
Lisa Pearson was involved for a while.
she's chair of Kinark or one of those boards.
Yeah.
Lisa. Yeah.
Yeah. Lisa. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So like I said, we don't have to have any ideas now, but just think about it for future.
Okay. Do we have any referred items? No. Okay. And no reports.
Sorry, my paper boy is delivering our paper. And
wow, he sounds like a dog.
My dogs are telling him that he shouldn't be on our walkway.
Oh.
I honestly, my poor cute little paper boy.
Oh, yeah, that's the same thing happens to ours. Yeah. Oh. Well, we don't have any further items on the agenda. What we do just need to remember to do is review the official plan and comments amongst everybody. Just share the comments. We'll comment back and forth, and then we'll compile all of the comments, and I will prepare a written document to deliver to Jordan by December 22nd.
Yeah.
I guess we will meet in December.
Yeah.
To go over
Just so you guys can discuss the comments, to make
Just
sure
really
that
quick, that's a
everybody's
good
in agreement.
idea.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so and everybody's cool with December meeting?
And I'm serious, like his first week at work, because we didn't have somebody who was working specifically on urban design guidelines. I found out he was hired, and I made a coffee appointment with him, and I took him out for coffee, and the poor guy, like, he got an earful. And then every 6 months or so, I'd be like, hey, Jordan, how's it going? What's happening with those urban design guidelines? Like, I am not even joking. So yeah, he's been so lovely and patient, and listening to me hammering him over the head for the last couple of years. So.
Well, thank you, Cheryl, and thanks to Jordan too for including.
That was a great presentation. Yeah.
Great information and forward thinking. I'm really looking forward to reviewing the document in full.
It looks very interesting. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So does anyone have any other comments or anything before we adjourn? Doug.
Catherine, I'm just trying to pull up a calendar, which doesn't seem to be working. What is the tentative date of the next meeting?
Tammy will know that, but I'm just going to open my calendar here.
It's normally the second Thursday of the month.
Okay, so
Let me just see what that entails.
I believe it's December 10th.
December 10th.
okay.
But we can move that whenever you guys feel, I mean, you're not stuck to that date, but I know it typically works for most people, that time frame.
I just wanted to mention, as we're looking at the design guidelines, I think one thing that's already sort of snuck in ahead of time is the changes to the sidewalks and their design. And every time I find one of the new sidewalks, I'm so excited. My daughter, who's had multiple concussions and has brain injury symptoms and is in a wheelchair, they're the only sidewalks in the city she can wheel on without ending up with a 2-day migraine.
Yes.
They are
For
fantastic.
that feedback. Yeah. Thank you.
My husband and I can walk side by side on them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're amazing. And I
That's
just
awesome.
wanted to make sure I said
Yeah.
that, because we
No,
don't.
I'll pass that along to our engineering staff, because they helped to initiate that. And I actually just had a meeting with them last week. And one of the first things they said to me was, I know it's not official. We don't have an official standard. We're not like we are making it a policy, but we're making sure that we do this every single time. And I'm like, oh, I wasn't going to say anything, but like, see, I've got a reputation. But they like to hear that feedback. Like, so because we've had other community members call in and tell us, and we've been able to share that with the engineering staff, and it's just so meaningful because it kind of puts it in perspective for them.
Yeah.
So
it's
yeah.
been a game changer for us. And now the only question my kids have is, when are they doing all the other ones?
I know.
Yeah.
Right? I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Soon. Yeah.
It'll
Soon.
be a process. I understand that, but
Yeah.
I think that there's a few near our house that I'm hoping count as being in need of being done
Yes.
soon.
Yes.
Oh, like the one I tripped on last week and broke my cheek.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, that one. Louise, did you have something you wanted to say?
Heather, where were you talking about downtown, Dunlop Street? I just didn't hear.
So they've redone them on Dunlop Street, but there's also there's a little section on Johnson just south of Blake. There's a couple of other little sections where
Like Glen Echo Drive, I think they did. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
every time I find another one, I'm just
Yeah. And downtown is so incredible now. Just an FYI, last week was a sort of a pop-up for the downtown streetscape, Come On Downtown. And I understand from the BIA that it was a record attendance. It was unbelievable. There were people downtown from like 8 o'clock in the morning until late.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the sidewalks and the road, they're just beautiful, and people comment on them all the time at how lovely it is. And I think by next summer, hopefully we'll get out. If we can't get out, we'll get out in small groups, but the people who are out just absolutely love it.
Awesome. That's good to hear. Yeah.
So, any other
Yeah, I was
comments?
just gonna say that I really couldn't go downtown, even if unless I was holding on to someone, even with my mobility, my balance and mobility, because the sidewalks actually were on a slant and then there were lots of little bricks that were missing. So I can be independent now
Oh, that's
Oh.
great.
with the
Yeah.
That's
new.
so good to hear.
Yeah, that's so good to hear.
I
Yeah.
can go there.
I-
now.
I do know that Louise can go shopping.
Yeah, right.
'Cause I've seen her.
And my friend.
That's oh, she was in the other day too.
That's
just
what I hear. There tomorrow.
just off topic, I started. I am working at Zuzu for a little while, and so Louise was actually my first customer on my first day,
Yay.
and she didn't know I was working there, so it was kind of funny. Yeah. So okay, well then, if no one has anything else to say, I guess we might as well adjourn the meeting until next month.
Sounds
Okay.
good. Yep.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.